Boom. Yeti, new. Yeti. Okay. So that should now be working. Here. Okay, so you can hear me now. Hello. Hope you can have sound. Yes. Sergeant Bilko. Sorry. The settings were all messed up when I turned on. There's new firewalls active. There's a lot of stuff I needed to do. Anyway, I don't have a lot of topics for tonight. I don't know if I've said that before. I might play some music. I actually just queued up a track. It's good to see you all. Hope you're having a good week. I'm having a good week. I'm having 46th birthday tomorrow. So that's a thing. Yeah, I'm trying a new device actually. Which is only 7% battery. So I should probably sort that out as well. I can do that. But yeah, how is everyone's week going? Hope that you're all well. Let me very quickly grab something. The battery was over here. Last minute improvised tech solutions. We'll do this. Okay. That will make sure I have battery. Or will it? It says not charging. Never mind. Although mind a little. That's a problem. Give me a second. Let me do something about the battery situation here. That is tricky. That is not charging from there as it should be. Okay, I can solve this. That did it. Portable charger. Okay. So anyway, how is it all going? Oh, crap. No announcement on Twitter again. I was messing around a bit before this and I got tied up with the technical issues. I should share this. Let me do that right now. Just started. Boom. What a mess. And here. And done. That should be tweeted. Let me just double check. It is tweeted. So yes, technical issues. What else is new? How are you all doing? It's pretty good here in Tokyo. There's not been a lot of news this week. The COVID situation remains excellent. I mean, there's only still like about 20 cases per day in Tokyo. How we are not, I mean, basically restrictions feel like they're mostly off. So I guess we are going to have a sixth wave. We're expecting that. The vaccination rates are good. It's sort of leveling out. It looks like it's going to get to about 75% fully vaccinated. They're preparing to start third shots from December. However, a lot of people, particularly people like me that got the Moderna shot, who didn't enjoy the side effects, particularly of the second shot, not really looking forward to the idea of a third shot, but I think most people are going to do it if it's available. Particularly looking at places like Singapore now that have more or less decided that the vaccination rates are high enough to go to living with it, that there are a lot of cases. Certainly wouldn't want to be unvaccinated once they decide to start lifting the restrictions. Yeah, it looks like it is more or less at the moment better than it probably should be, but that's a good thing. We've seemed to have somehow gotten through Halloween and a couple of big events without there being a spike yet. So I guess that's going to happen soon. Of course, the excellent news that the borders have reopened, not for tourism, but for everybody else who's been waiting to get in, particularly people waiting for working visas and student visas and so on. So I don't know if any of you are in that situation. But yeah, it's nice to see a bit of normalcy returning to the world. I don't have any topics tonight on COP26 in Glasgow. Still digesting what happened today myself, but yeah, that's interesting, and it sort of is for through the week I watch mostly sort of space science stuff, and yeah, I think it's going to have a big impact on our world, at least in terms of fundamentally fighting climate change really means changing the types of energy sources that we use, and and that's not just converting to solar and wind and so on. It's also things like new types of energy and so on. It's stuff which I think can actually improve on what we use right now. So I think it's actually going to be looked back upon as an impetus to making really, really great positive changes. So yeah, it's an interesting time anyway. Good to see so many people in the chat. Let's say hello, especially without the Twitter notice which just went out. But let's see who's in here. We've got Aaron. Hey, good to see Aaron. Cobra Stenshi, good to have you here in the chat. Who else we got in here? We've got Sergeant Bilko. Good to see you. DJ Sunnyside Up, glad that you made it. One Johnson, rockets launching, yes indeed. Snowing in Indiana, whoa, that's crazy. Although I guess in America, I can imagine it gets pretty cold there. But yeah, it's still lovely here. It's like 20 degrees Celsius during the day. Kind of cold at night. Starting to get, I got out the ski tonight. Not super dry yet, but it's getting in that direction. Tokyo, of course, has the best winters in Japan. Everywhere else in Japan, it does get kind of snowy and cold and miserable, but Tokyo is sheltered by mountains on the sides where all the bad weather comes from, so it's pretty much dry and sunny all winter. It's quite nice, but autumn in particular, the way it is right now, is like the best time of year. If you could come, now would be the best time to come. DJ Sunnyside Up, yes indeed, we've got some Indiana people checking in. Nice to see people people connecting. We've got Tokyo 503. Yes, watching rugby and indeed watching how Ireland beat New Zealand, and I won't say I obviously don't have a planned topic on it. I'm wearing the All Blacks jersey. It's or not jersey, just the training shirt. But yeah, the game, the All Blacks against Italy, the All Blacks looked really rusty. They were making a lot of unforced errors, and they kind of looked kind of crap. And I kind of thought, oh, is this the midweek? Is this the B team? And, it really isn't acceptable by All Black standards to be making so many mistakes. I mean, they weren't anyway. But I was sort of thinking, well, that doesn't look good. But hopefully they were just, treating it like a training run, which is silly. But hopefully that's what it was. But then against Ireland, it was the same thing. I mean, the Irish played a great game and the All Blacks looked sloppy. I mean, albeit thanks to Irish pressure. That's what caused it. But, so it's credit to the Irish. But at the same time, again, as a New Zealand rugby fan, we don't tolerate mistakes, from players or coach or whatever. And, yeah, the All Blacks looked like they were out of ideas when they got under pressure. They in the end, the Irish, they closed it out really, really well. So, what can I say? I didn't actually see the Japan game from WoW where I was watching. It wasn't available, so I'm going to check that out. But I didn't realize that they'd won their game, so... Anyway, there we go. Who else is in here? We've got Barry Convex. Yes, Barry Convex. Sound is back. Sorry about that. Ada Void, good morning, Arizona. Good to have you. Who else we got in here? Remember, say hello. It's always nice to hear people say hello. And remember, you can get my attention by saying my name. It flashes orange like that. And I will be sure to, if you've got a comment or a request or anything like that, you can do that. Quinn Ranked, yeah, sorry for the lack of announcement. Just shot it out just now, although albeit late. We've got Mr. Cordy Chep here as always. Andrea Mulberry, good to see you, and thank you for the happy birthday before. Yes, tech issues. Well, I tried to make it feel like home when you came back, so there we go. We've got squirrels about indeed. Jumped ahead a bit there. Sometimes it just suddenly refreshes. We got Dylan Ellis. Good to see you, Dylan Ellis. Welcome. We got Odie Jr. Bada boom, boom, indeed. 270 AJ. Good to see you, 270 AJ. In New Zealand news, Pingu the penguin took a swim over from Antarctica. Penguins do that in New Zealand. Although I've been away for so long, I guess I'm not really qualified to say. But yes, Keto Croix. Good to see you from cold Midwest Chicago. Oh, it's already cold there. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'd love to try your guys' pizza sometime. I've only stopped in Chicago on like a stopover. I've never gotten off the plane, but it's a part of the world I'd love to see one day, although possibly not during winter. But good to have you in the chat there, Keto. And Odie Jr., yes, that is how you spell it. Birthday indeed, birthday tomorrow, but thank you for the birthday wishes. I mean, it is what it is at this point. But still, I did actually get myself something that I'm going to show you in the topics. But also, I'm using the iPad. This should not fade out during the show. And actually, it's got a nicer ratio. It makes it nicer for showing stories and whatnot. So yeah, I thought we'd try this. So Yeah, into the topics. Let's just dive in. I'm going to have a quick drink of water. Thanks, Mr. Cordychep. So yeah, the first story that we've got is Sapporo has announced that it is bidding for the 2030 Olympics. And they said they're going to make it an eco-friendly, compact Olympics. It's going to be in a small area around the city of Sapporo in Hokkaido. And some people thinking that rings familiar, because isn't that what they sold Tokyo was going to be? It was going to be eco-friendly and compact, which of course it turned out to be neither. But yes, that's right. Just when everyone... to me, I immediately thought of the more cowbell skit. It's like, I got a fever, and the only thing that can cure this fever is more Olympics. Pretty much the whole of Japan, when they made the announcement, the internet comments, 勘弁してくれ, give me a break. また嘘つくのか, you lying again. もうやめろよ, please stop. And so on and so forth. Mostly the internet is saying, oh, please stop it. And yeah, 予算は過去最大の更新するんでしょう. You guys are going to break the record for having the biggest budget ever. And whatnot. The thing with the Olympics nowadays is that they're so expensive that no one even wants to bid for them anymore. So maybe they're in with a shot as well, but that is something. I don't know. Do people want I mean, on the one hand, it might be nice to actually have some Olympics in Japan without, in 2030, when you won't have all of this stuff going on. And there again, I mean, Winter Olympics. We did have the 1998 Nagano Olympics, so I remember they were pretty good. Sapporo's lovely. I'd love to go to Sapporo. I'm not sure I'd go to Sapporo just to watch the Olympics, though. But it's a nice city. So maybe it's not all bad. But anyway, I don't know. What do you all think about having another Olympics in Japan? Maybe a chance for people who wanted to see the Summer Games. I see we've got more people rocking, and by the way, we've got the Condor. Welcome back, the Condor. Good to see you. Eric Bailey, hello, good to see you. Katie and Eric, good to see you all. Oh, lordy, no more Olympics. Yeah. Well, you never know. Sergeant Bilko, they just had it a few years back, in 1972. That's right, Sapporo's had the Olympics before, indeed. And given the increasing lack of competition, with people realizing that it's economically kind of difficult to do, well, who knows? They could actually have a pretty good chance of getting it. Yeah, that is the first story we've got. The second story we've got is, interesting that the government's been preparing for the sixth wave. I mean, it's considered to be still inevitable that there's going to be another wave of cases. Probably, I mean, we'd be expecting it to be starting already by now, but it's not. So I guess maybe late November, December. Two things the government are doing. First of all, they're trying to make sure there will be more hospital beds available, because that's been a cause of stress. The fact that so many people were unable to be admitted to hospitals, particularly during the last wave. The problem being that hospitals point out that the staffing that are required to maintain COVID beds and the resources that they take away from hospitals endanger the economic viability of hospitals that make money from regular outpatients or inpatients. So, hospitals are really reluctant to take COVID patients, even if they have the beds and staff available, because, it takes away their ability to make other business. The government's trying to address that at the moment and to prepare to make sure that there will be more capacity for the next wave, but we'll wait and see. The other thing that they are doing is this thing at the top. They basically, to maintain testing capacity, in order to be able to get a free test, you can actually now get tests from pharmacies, which you pay for, and those private tests, the results of those are included in track statistics, but you have to pay for them, and they're not that expensive. They're like $30 or $20 or something like that. So if you really want a test, you can get one easily enough. But in terms of getting a free test prescribed by a doctor, you have had to show symptoms and meet certain thresholds to be able to get a free test from the government. However, the government has decided that for the next wave, they will allow doctors to issue tests for COVID, even for people who are not symptomatic. So you might say, finally, most other countries have been doing this as sort of a standard part, and this is why the numbers in part have been higher in other countries, because there's been systematic population-based testing to try to find all the cases, even if they're not symptomatic. And so Japan has only really been tracking cases of people that are symptomatic. That said, recently the test positivity rates have been below 1%. It's been actually around 0.5, so 1 in every 200 tests are actually positive. So if you think that the government is restricting tests to people who probably have it, they're kind of not. There's probably a lot of private tests being done, people just getting tested for travel purposes or other purposes, and that's probably part of why the positivity rates are so low at the moment. But remember, we did get up to 25% positivity rate at one point during the last wave, when we were getting 5,000 cases a day, and 5% is considered the red line. So that implied that testing wasn't sufficient, and so the government is trying to address, at least make sure we'll be better prepared for the next wave, with more hospital beds and more tests, fewer restrictions on testing. And they're trying to boost the capacity to be able to handle the increased numbers of anticipated tests. Of course, the big hope is that continued social distancing. I mean, I go out now and there are no practical restrictions, but you don't see anybody without masks. So, I still run with masks or whatever. I'm not stopping that. I can't even imagine ever stopping that now. Actually, it's kind of become quite normal. So between that and a 75% vaccination rate, and that's including kids who can't be vaccinated, right? So actually among the whole population, it's actually quite high. I don't know what the percentages of people that can be vaccinated, but it's pretty good. So I guess the hope is that we'll be able to keep the next few waves relatively low, although that said, places like Singapore are getting a pretty nasty bump now that they have gone back to not having pretty much any restrictions. So we'll see. We will find out how that goes. But at the moment, things are still good. But we'll have to wait and see what the next wave looks like. So that is the second story that I've got. Wing Star, hey now, good to see you, Wing Star. And we've also got Octavio Medeiros, good to see you. No Sakura season 2022 for tourists. It's possible. I think the first thing is that they've got to get a backlog of 390,000 people waiting to get into Japan on work or student visas, and they can only quarantine about 3,500 people at a time. So you think about that. That's going to take 100 days alone. So I think Sakura season, March, April, it could happen. I mean, that's assuming that we don't have any more terrible waves or whatever, or find out that the vaccine is any variants that the vaccines don't work for. So all things going well, I think it's possible, but I wouldn't bet money on it yet. But I hope so. We've got Kran. Good to see you, Kran. At least, unlike Tokyo in summer, Hokkaido would be appropriate for Winter Olympics. Yes, it would, generally. I think you're right. And actually, Japan does get great quality snow, so that is another thing. And yet, Tokyo is pretty miserable for summer, so that's an excellent point, Crum. Eric Bailey, a lot of hospitals are lying about the amount of beds they have. I don't know that they're not lying. They're just saying that we have beds, but you can't use them, pretty much. They're not making beds available for COVID patients. And certainly, that's because they're trying to protect their paying patients or protect their ability to host paying patients. Wing Star, thank you for the happy birthday. I am a November man. It's actually, you came in late, but it's tomorrow. So, Shigo-san, it's easy to remember. It's the day that they dress up all the kids, and thank you for remembering. That's actually remarkable and very nice of you. But for Sakura season, Tokyo and Kyoto are the best places. I must admit, I've never been to Kyoto during Sakura season, but I could see how it would be pretty picturesque, and I should totally do that. I would also be shocked. I agree with Katie and Eric that I'd be shocked if the doors were wide open, but it's possible. We'll just have to see how things go. I think that's like an ultimate best super duper scenario, but fingers crossed, like I say. So that's the second story. The next story, that we have is, this is an interesting one. In fact, I should check. Right now I don't have the normal YouTube window open, but that is not opening. Why is that not opening? Tube filter, come on, tube filter. Anyway, I mean, you all know YouTube is disabling, or they're not disabling, they're just not showing dislike counts on videos. So as I understand, and I must admit I haven't even checked this at the moment, is that you will do, okay, that page is down, but it's this one down here. You can see it. Anyway, down the bottom right there, YouTube is privating dislike counts on all videos. I suppose, if it was really for psychological safety, that's what they talk a lot about lately. It could be that then you wouldn't show it to the creator, or you wouldn't let it affect the algorithm, but it still obviously affects the algorithm, and the creator can still see them. So I guess from that perspective, I don't really know how much point there is in doing that. But there again, of course, it is something that there are these troll attacks. There are these sort of gangs of bullies that go and download videos. And I know cases, particularly more back in the day, you don't hear about it so much now, but there are people who used to put bots, to attack videos and so on. And I know creators who, would invest a lot of time and money into creating certain videos. And, they get really, really, you never let people know that it was getting to them, but, you'd hear from people that, yeah, it really would get to them. Particularly when, sure, if it's a dislike because someone legitimately dislikes the video, that's fine. But to have like a troll mob just to attack the video and make it hide it from the algorithm, particularly when people are sort of really, really relying on trying to make something genuinely good and trying to earn money off the algorithm, which no one who really is making money off YouTube does anymore. Then it kind of makes sense. But given that doesn't really happen, and in any case the down thumbing is still going to have the same impact, I'm not sure. I guess it's that thing about does it ever bother you when you see that there's a dislike? I must admit, I'll think sometimes, hey, did I say something particularly offensive this week? Did I do something to trigger that? Sometimes you have that self-questioning thing, and I can imagine that for particularly young people and fragile people, dislikes might get to some people. But they still have them there, so I don't really know what privating them is going to do. But I think if you're doing it for fun, you shouldn't worry about it. And from that perspective, maybe YouTube's fostering that. So it's interesting. It's interesting that it's still there. I don't know what people here think about that, but I'm curious what all of you think about not showing dislikes on videos. I think given that if a video has a lot of down thumbs, that it still is going to affect its algorithm rating, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure it actually has much practical purpose just privating it, other than it just doesn't look so mean or something. And that's the only thing I can really think of. Curious what people think. Barry Convex, is there a medical reason to run with a mask, or is it just a signal to others? Here in the UK, people wear masks indoors, but generally not outside. Yeah, it's Barry Convex. It's manners. There's been a lot of when the whole thing started, there was a lot of TV specials and frankly people who are being very sensitive to the idea of getting COVID like from airborne sort of outside. There was this thing about what are manners for sweaty, deep breathing, panting runners everywhere? Like how far should they keep away from people? And there were a lot of suggestions and TV simulations and so on showing how runners could potentially be like super spreaders in the street of COVID if they're exhaling COVID germs all over the place. So there were suggestions that runners had to try to keep like 1 meter or 2 meters away from other people, and there were all these new suggestions of etiquette which Japan loves, and part of that was wearing a mask. I didn't wear a mask in the very beginning, but you start to get dirty looks, and honestly, it just becomes like established manners, and it just starts to look weird if you don't. So I just got a mask that's particularly thick, which allows it to stay. Thin masks, when you get hot and sweaty, it starts to get stuck to your mouth, and it becomes less permeable when it gets wet. Whereas I got one that's quite thick out of material, so there's a nice little gap between my nose and my mouth, so I can breathe just fine actually with it. The only problem is that with sweat it gets quite heavy and it starts to fall down after more than an hour of running. But other than that, I can run pretty comfortably with the mask actually. Although I had to find the right one to get the mask, to get a mask that I could run comfortably with. But no medical reason per se. It really is more just etiquette. But it's the same as people out walking with masks, frankly. Again, 100% of people, at least where I am, I know I see people tweeting saying that there are in other parts of Japan where they see lots of people without masks, but not where I live. Or where I've been around central Tokyo, you don't see anyone without masks. Maybe standing on a corner having a drink or something, taking a break for a moment, but even then they've got the mask on and they've just pulled it down briefly. But pretty rare to see people without masks, even nowadays when things are quite good. So yeah. The Condor, they don't want Brandon to get downliked. Yeah, I didn't get that. I had to look that one up, and I saw it, and let's go, Brandon. It's silly, and it's silly in the respect that it would be, the other way around. All the people who would be cheering would be the opposite, and all the people who would be booing would be the opposite. I think it's funny as hell. So yes, indeed. I doubt that was exactly the reason, but Yeah, lately it seems everything. I mean, Instagram was very big on this as well, right? About trying to protect people's psychology and what. I suspect it's something to do with that, but who knows? Wingstar, yeah, 2005. Back in the day, trolls were incredibly bad. Indeed, I mean, some of them are still going like they used to. I mean, you almost respect the endurance that some of them have. But yeah, I must admit, I was kind of fortunate. But back in the day as well, like people, there wasn't really established norms back then. So I think the bad ones were particularly bad, and people would jump on people. I remember, when e-begging was like the worst, lowest thing a YouTuber could do, and there were a couple of big YouTubers who were like financially struggling, but making content. And they said, "Hey, I'm struggling. I'm about to live in a car. I've set up a PayPal. Could you send me $1?" And people would bully for that. Like it was shameful. Now, of course, people, um, you know getting sponsored and whatever is like a sign you've made it. But back in the day, I mean, it was a pretty brutal time indeed. Wingstar, Iraq, excellent to see you. Good to have you here in the chat. Wingstar, when I have a chance, please let you know if I use a planner like Hobonichi. I really like the Japanese planners, but not sure which one to get. Well, I should get a planner, but I'm not that. I just use Outlook and my work software for that, and notepad notes all over the place. I probably should do that, but no, you're educating me, Wingstar, I'm afraid. That sounds actually like I should look it up myself, so thank you for the tip. Dylan Ellis, I chin my mask in Tokyo and pull it up when I pass someone. Yeah, that's one way of doing it. I mean, there are Aussie-sons that seem to just leave it around their chin like all day. And the analogy to like wearing trousers hung down until someone comes by is sometimes made. But yeah, I think so long as you spot people coming and you consider it. I mean, I think that's fair enough. And you do see people who are like, smoking or drinking sometimes, who pull it down if there's a reason. So yeah. Mr. Kordychev, creators can already hide private likes, dislikes. Indeed, they can. In fact, they can hide them entirely. I mean, yeah. So again, I'm not exactly sure of the impact of why they're privating them from visibility, but I think there are cases, like there are certain videos where it's like there's a competition almost between equal likes and dislikes, and and also there are sometimes you see rankings of videos. Come think of it, like Watch Mojo rankings on the most disliked videos on YouTube and stuff like that. So to the extent that they kind of start these kind of frenzies around, maybe it's to do with the high profile videos, like the ones with millions of dislikes, and maybe it's something to do with that. I can't figure it out, but yeah. That jumped there a moment. We've got Cobras Tenshi. The downvotes don't seem to have an effect on the algorithm already. Is that right? Have they really separated from the algorithm? It's probably just for ego psychological reasons for the creators. Yeah, I mean, genuinely, it doesn't make sense to me that the algorithm would give you a pass on a video that has a lot of downlikes, because again, this is how it's supposed to be able to tell that a video is a video worth recommending. But yeah, okay, maybe that's true. Maybe they found, again, the algorithm's always improving, so maybe they've and you know what, even if it's a video that people don't like, if they watch it all the way through, and you know what, another thing, if someone watches a video for like 2 seconds and down thumbs it, that shouldn't be counted, right? That's proof almost that it's part of just a troll farm or something. So yeah, maybe they're getting smarter with the algorithms, that they don't need to pay attention to the actual thumbs button so much anymore. Who knows? Quinn Ranked, lately I see a lot of down votes on political content that might hurt the fees of of YouTube, given their political bias. I suspect the reason for making the down votes private. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't really see political bias from here. I mean, again, from where I sit, both left and right look like idiots. And look, if you lie or say stupid, fake, dangerous stuff, then the idea that taking down videos to incite capital raids and stuff like that showed political bias is kind of like, to me, yeah, I realize it's part of the whole culture war landscape, is this belief that tech is all pro-left as well. But I don't see that myself. I really don't. But I certainly agree that political content is probably prone to a lot of down thumbs, and yeah, perhaps that certainly is likely to have played a part. So yeah, we've got Dan H. Good to see you. Is Japan's Nichan still horrible troll website with the online bullying bill? I'm not sure I followed the comment exactly, but 2chan still exists. It still is what it's always been, more or less. I don't know, actually, with the online bullying bill. They're right now they are doing a lot of focusing on online privacy and stuff like that, piracy and whatnot. I haven't seen them doing a lot about bullying at all. And again, I'm not sure what they can do. I mean, the police and governments looked at this for a while. Although that said, I mean, Hiroyuki, the guy who built Nichan's, actually been offered a role. He was one of the candidates being whose name was being tossed around for being in charge of the digital agency, and Son Masayoshi was like, advocating for him. So honestly, Nichan's kind of like hitting middle age. It feels like a little bit, but it's still there. It still is doing what it was always doing. The Condor, pulling down your mask to smoke is peak legacy of the pandemic. We agree. I agree with you completely. The Condor. I guess if you're not going to die of one thing, you're going to die of another, or at least increase your odds of dying of both. But yeah, I mean, hey, you got to smoke, you got to smoke. But I live in an area where you're not supposed to smoke and walk, and people do. I'm not like Victor. I don't call people out in the street about it. But yeah. I mean, I agree. The Condor, Twitter literally removed the president of the US, but tech isn't all left wing. Am I right? Twitter removed the president of the US? Well, did it? I mean, that seems kind of nuts. But anyway, you don't think the tech is pro-left? How much did Zuck give in political donations, and to whom? Well, sure, but at the same time as, basically it's coming out now that Facebook was exploited by pro-Brexit votes, like in a lot of countries. I mean, the Trump getting elected was largely attributed to him being better at using social media. I mean, this is the thing. You're saying that Trump got that Twitter and Facebook cost Trump the election. They got him elected. He won because he was better at using social media than Hillary. And his whole base was mobilized via Facebook and Twitter. I mean, they were powerful tools in favor of the right wing, and still are, if you ask me. I mean, sure, the people who run them might have, I'm sure they have political views, but I don't see that the platforms are biased. But that's me. I don't care. Quint Rankid, let's assume ad argumentum that you're right and both left and right are cray-cray. Ad argumentum, I mean, okay. Tech having left bias isn't mutually exclusive with that. Sure. And by the way, look, in fairness, sure, there was the whole movement of people in Google feeling, saying that they were a discriminated minority. There was that person who was let go for objecting to unconscious bias training at Google, and sued them and lost. Sure. And look, it's true that these companies operate in liberal states, right? They're in California, they're in coastal states and whatever. So I think it's natural to assume that they're probably from majority left-wing areas. But there again, I mean, think about, what's his face? There's a lot of quite wealthy right-wing people as well who fund. I mean, Elon Musk is proven he's got a lot of pretty right-wing political thoughts. And I'm trying to think, the guy who also co-funded Twitter, or he funded a lot, he has like a nuclear bunker in New Zealand. There's a lot of VC people who are quite right-wing as well. So people are idiots, and honestly, the point being, I don't doubt that people have political views. I don't see it myself in the platforms at all. I don't see political bias. To me, the content that gets blocked or banned from the platforms is stuff which should be blocked or banned regardless of whether it's pro-left or pro-right. That's me, but I see the world through an optimistic lens. Paragotti, hey, good to see you, Paragotti. Good to have you with us. The Condor, there is a difference between people using a platform and the corporation tilting the scales. Absolutely, well, we agree. And like I said, I don't see people tilting the scales. I see a platform that's pretty agnostic and works for both sides, although both sides want it to tilt more in their favor and feel like it's against them because they want it to be more on their side. To me, it's just aggressive lobbying, in my personal view. So it's my birthday tomorrow, and I decided to, I actually went out, I got my feet measured at a Nike store so I could get the right fit, and I went and got myself, these are the pink shoes that all the marathon runners wear that apparently make you go like 3% faster, which, adds up if you're running for a long distance. I've only been since like high school. I've only worn New Balance shoes. I like them. They're heavy. They're like clogs, but they're very comfortable. But some Zoom X shoes, I went and got a pair. So yeah, I spent $50 extra to get a custom. In the Nike app, you can actually custom make the colors and all the different parts and components of it. So this is the design that I made, and they should be coming in about 5 weeks. And I'm really looking forward to trying on these shoes and seeing if they actually make a difference at all. I mean, I'm given that I'm wearing shoes that are basically like fashion sneakers that I'm using for running at the moment. Having an actual pair of running shoes, I am curious to see what the difference will be. But I'm pretty stoked with the design there. So some nice people in Vietnam are making them for me, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing them when they arrive. So yeah, it's pretty. Oh, the other thing that was actually really cool, which I'll got to give props to Nike. I haven't bought any Nike shoes since I was in high school. But yeah, so I wanted to get the size right, so I went and did a fitting. But while I was in the Nike store, I opened up the Nike app. The Nike app realized I was in a Nike store and gave me a whole menu for the store that I was in. But also when I, on the app, started designing a custom-made shoe, it seemed to realize it detects that your birthday is close. And it was like, 3 or 4 days before my birthday. And it gave me a 20% discount based on a birthday promo. So yeah, the shoes, which should have been 29,000 yen, were 23,000 yen. It was a crazy discount actually, and for custom made, really the best shoes you can get in the world. I mean, I did a bit of searching, but this is all the running shoe rankings say these are the best ones. So yeah, I'll definitely be probably installing them when I get them. But yeah, I was tempted to get the all pink ones just since, because you see them on runners all over the place now. But yeah, I quite like getting my own custom scheme, and yeah, a little bit flashy, but I quite like those. So that's what I got made. Abel Rosario, yes, indeed. I hope my health is 3% better. Indeed, that's what I'm going. Will the shoes do that? I'm sure we can get that one time. Eric Bailey, was someone really banned for life for saying men aren't women? I'm skeptical of that. There has to be more to it than that. But yeah. For example, Twitter banning the Hunter Biden laptop story literally weeks before the 2020 election. Isn't that tilting the scales? I think they were sensitive about Russian troll farms, fake news, and again, that whole Hunter Biden laptop thing, I think was a made-up story, is my understanding. So that's why it got. I think they were treating it like sort of fake Russian sort of planted news stories. And again, I don't know if that's the case or not, and I don't care, honestly. But okay, I get it. I mean, I can certainly see that if you believe that story, or Pizzagate or anything like that, and those stories are getting banned, it looks like that they're going for you. But yeah, Cobras Tenchi, smoking 1.4 cigarettes gives you 1 micromort, the same as eating 40 tablespoons of peanut butter or drinking Miami Tab water for a year. Marathon is 7 micromort. Oh, you mean micromort is shortening your life? Well, that's good to know. In that case, I'll just run little mini marathons. It will match the keyboard. It didn't occur to me after, but yes, indeed. I've got the keyboard right here. It will kind of match, won't it? I must admit, it is a kind of a similar scheme. They're good colors. I don't know. Maybe they seem to be my jam at the moment. Although I guess I should have got orange like accents. I guess that would have worked. Not at all. The Condor. Well, remember going back. I mean, Pizzagate, the fake planted news stories. I mean, they were all the other way. They were all that Hillary Clinton was like running some Kabbalistic ring. When Trump was elected, it was very much the other way. And those were all being circulated on social media just the same. So it's not all one way, which again just to me shows that they're just crappy platforms, more than that there's particular bias within the platforms in one direction or the other. That's just the way that I see it. And the fact that you don't think that there is others. Quint Ranked, I haven't seen proof that the story is true. The other way around, I mean, telling me to prove a negative is just silly. But I don't care. I'm sorry, but this is the point. Why I don't want to look it up, because I don't care. I really don't care. Just like, honestly, I don't care about Pizzagate either. But again, a lot of people believe that enough to run into the pizza restaurant with a gun and threaten the staff. So Social media is crazy, and I think that's why now they're being more aggressive. Oh, crap! That's why they're being more aggressive now about policing it, as they should. Interesting, there's this great YouTube channel which mainly does British and European, but some American news or whatever. TLDR, they just do a pretty good balanced summaries, and they do really try. Do not play. They try to do good balanced sort of news, and it's a good channel to watch. And they did a good summary on the history of the LDP, and just how, with a suggestion that I think a lot of people in Japan find provocative, that is Japan a de facto one-party state? But they were basically suggesting in the video, equally controversially, that that the LDP is the most successful political party in a modern multi-party democracy anywhere in the world. A lot of people said, "Oh, they don't understand. Japan isn't really a democracy," but I think it is. I mean, you can look at other one-party states, like for example, people have talked about immediately in the Twitter responses to this, Indonesia, Singapore, places like that. But these are countries that have really aggressive legislation against opposition political activities. Where members of the opposition are sued for defamation and parties are regularly outlawed. Japan, there's no real such police or legislated restriction on opposition activities. There's an active communist party that gets a lot of support. There are there is not the same kind of censorship you see in other one-party sort of states. And so, given the diversity of political parties that exist in Japan, at least the options that exist, I think it is fair to say that the LDP is remarkably successful. And it goes through the elements of how that sort of has worked, and as much as it's to do with disillusionment with the opposition, as well as people just generally, it seems, obviously there is the ancient history of the establishment of the LDP, which was definitely funded by the United States, that wanted to reinforce the conservative parties in Japan against rising socialism and communism in Japan, and fear that it might stop in the 1950s and 60s. Japan being the ammunition production base and aircraft carrier that it was for United States forces in the Vietnam and Korean Wars. Other than early American interference, which certainly did exist, and the money politics, which I guess has sort of gone through all the way to today. It's a pretty good, like I said, it's a well recommended video. So TLDR News Global and the history of the LDP. It's worth watching. I thought it was quite balanced. So TLDR. What was that? I see. Let me go back up into the comments. Cobra Stenchi, One Johnson, shoe color also matches my Tokyo Tonight UI. That's another good point I hadn't thought of. I must like the colors. There we go. I guess they are the official. You're making me realize things I hadn't realized. That is correct. That is it does match the screen. I'm not going to write Tokyo Tonight on them, but that is pretty cool. Quint Rankin, speaking of fake, have I been following Durham's indictments? Who's Durham? No, I have not. I do not. I really, really have enjoyed switching off from America, but no. Speaking of fake, I have not followed Durham's indictments, and feel free to tell me or not tell me all about them. Eric Bailey, her name was Megan Murphy, and Christopher Luke. I challenge you to show one Nazi thing from her. I'm sure she's a lovely lady. Quinn Rankin, I didn't ask you to prove anything about Hunter's laptop. I just asked you for a source why I believe what I do. Not just the fact that it was. I remember during the election that it was highlighted as one of the news stories that was being taken down, and I assumed it was being taken down because it was considered fake news. That's why, just the fact it was being taken down, and that there was coverage of the fact of it being taken down as fake news, made me think, oh, that must have been fake news. And yes, maybe I'm a sheeple, but that's why I believe it. Quinn Rackett. Abel Rosario, I originally entered the country by U.S. aircraft carrier. Yeah, well, they're not going to turn you away in those cases. I didn't realize that, actually. That's kind of cool. That's a good way to say that you got here. I like to say, I've got my own little phrase like that. I like to say that I was born in Fukuoka. At least I was born, my shushin in Japan is Fukuoka, in the sense that I landed, and by exiting the airport, I was born into Japan in Fukuoka. Well, I can't really say that anymore. I can't really call myself a Kyushu man, but that's actually that's more impressive, saying that you arrived in this country by aircraft carrier. Yeah. What else we got here? Next story. Oh yeah, Elements of Japan, Shizuoka. That is Arisha in Tokyo. She actually is also presenter of the English 101 pod, English Pod 101 podcast for people who learn English as a second language, and they just got 6 million subscribers, which is like more than the population of my country by quite a long way. That is a remarkable number. So she's got, of course, an enormous channel, but she's also got her own channel that she's basically doing a travel log, but like full on like proper travel documentary, like should be on freaking TV. I mean, abroad in Japan probably sets the high water for that, but that sort of is like it could be on TV, but sort of as an entertainment thing. But this is a proper, like, amazingly well shot and planned and presented and produced thing. And she has only the second episode at the moment has just gone up on Shizuoka. But you should go subscribe to Elements of Japan, and you should go check out that video and the first one. I actually thought the first one was really, really good as well. So you should definitely go and watch both and look out for new episodes coming out of Elements of Japan. While we're supporting that series. Another video that I loved is Samurai in Mexico. This is actually a story of forget the name of the guy actually, but this story this channel Voices of the Past. I've talked about it before. This is a guy I think is based in Hong Kong, but he gets basically first-hand accounts by people in history, often people who do not speak English. So they're translations of autobiographical accounts of people traveling in the Middle Ages or whatever, describing the world that they were in at the time. And so the perspective of a samurai going through, spending months in Mexico on their way to Rome to meet the Pope on behalf of the Japanese government or a kind of an embassy. Of course, the subtext to this is that this was actually not sent by the shogunate directly. It was sent by Date Masamune, who was actually sent somebody. So it was a vassal. It wasn't actually the shogun, and it was to basically send feelers out to see if the Catholic Church was, willing to establish, stronger sort of security ties with Japan. While they were doing that, Anji Miura, William Adams, the British guy, came in and basically tipped off the shogun that the Catholics were sort of ripping off Asia and were trying to manipulate Japan, and you should get rid of all the Catholics, and they basically started like slaughtering Catholics all over Japan while this person was about to meet the Pope. So it ended up not really working out. But and it wasn't widely known in Japan that there had even been this sort of samurai visitor to Rome. But the account of this person in the 15th century, traveling through Mexico and Europe and describing it, and those accounts being written down, it's really, really cool. It's just a great channel. So highly recommend that. And that is all the topics that I actually have for tonight. I'll go back in, but I can make some music. I've actually got a track that I queued up just before the show. But other than that, I am at your disposal. Hasekura, that's right, the Hasekura. Well, so there were two. There was the official one, the Hasekura one, and this one was. I wonder if it's. Can I? Word had arrived in Mexico City. Don't do that. So this is actually the Keicho Embassy. So the Hasekura one came after. And that was the proper one, but this was actually Keicho, who was actually from up in Ibaraki or whatever. So, yeah, anyway, it's super interesting. And it's a great video, but well worth looking at that. So, the Condor. I must admit, so I was raised Church of England, which, so unlike Catholics, who of course have to deal with all the ambiguity and messed up history that the Church there has, all I have to do is look to whenever I have a moral dilemma is consider what Henry VIII would do in the situation. I finished 2 minutes early. Yes, I don't know how to feel about this, Mr. Cordychip. There really isn't much news at the moment. Mr. Cordychip says music. Let's see if I can hook some music up and I can get it going. Let me now hang on a sec. Now you know what? It's not going to work with the screen capture if I do this. So I'm going to stop mirroring. So let me turn that off for a sec and plug in the sound. Let's see if I can get the music going properly this week. And headphones. In fact, let's just go for these. Okay, let's see if I can get this Korg line in. Boom. Okay. Now, you know what? Let me see if I can still screen share this. Yeah, it won't let me do both at the same time. Oh well, that is what it is. Okay, let's just do a track. Okay. Anyway, I queued this one up before the show. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna go now. So have a good night, everybody. Have a good week, everybody. Stay safe. More squirrels than ever, indeed. EDIR. Good to see you here in the chat. Nice of you to join. Don't worry, the night is still young. Good to see you all here. By the way, the HBO series, The Young Pope, is pretty good. Okay, that sounds. I don't have HBO. I've got Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon Prime are the ones that I can watch at the moment. But if it's available, I will look it up. Thank you for the tip. In fact, just thinking, I watched something. Oh yeah, I watched Narcos season 3 last week. Yeah, love that series. I mean, you know, I almost wish they released it episode by episode. I really love watching Better Call Saul, which I can't wait to have come back on. It's going to be like early 2022 at this point. But yeah, Narcos season 3 was pretty good, so it's worth checking. If you've seen the El Chapo like series that was also on Netflix, it's pretty much mirroring many of the same stories that were from that, but with a slightly different angle. So that was pretty good. Anyway, have a good week. I'm gonna indeed have a good birthday tomorrow. I hope you all have good birthdays or just good non-birthdays wherever you are. Stay safe. Take care. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, and peace. Have a good one, everyone. Boom. Ending the stream.